So guys, welcome back to the channel for another video here, and I'm out in my local meadow just to do a video really on giving you some tips for giving your images a little bit more impact, whether that's foreground, background, bokeh, slow shutter speeds, fast shutter speeds, using light, etc. Nice and easy here, lots and lots of subjects, little brown sparrows, warblers and things like that. I thought we'd concentrate today and go through some things that I do when I'm out looking to get some nice shots. We've got a lot of what appears to be like cow parsley here. We've got a load of marsh marigolds down the way. We've got loads of yellow flag iris. Loads and loads of nice features there to use. And it's really to give you an idea really and give you a few tips when you're out in your local meadow, on your heath, in your woodland, just looking for key things really that can enable you to get shots that maybe will stand out just a little bit more. It's quite windy today, so we can use the wind to our advantage with maybe some slow shutter speeds, maybe with some of the grasses, some of the cow parsley, and hopefully give a nice effect on the images. I've not got any filters on or anything like that. Shooting with the Canon 1DX Mark III today, and I'm using the zoom lens, the EF 200-400 with that built-in 1.4 telly to give me that zoom range of 200 to 560, which is a great range to use. So you could do some landscape shots, you can do some tight-in shots, clicking in that teleconverter, etc. So we're going to take a good old mooch through the meadow. I'm glad it's quite windy because there's a lot of bugs around and a lot of mozzies, and they're biting like mad at the moment, so that will keep those down. But we're going to see if we can catch up with some bird species. There is a resident kestrel in here, the American kestrel. There's lots of song sparrows, there's lots of swamp sparrows, fox sparrows, loads of other different warbler species. So we're going to head in there now, hopefully get set up, and we'll just talk through some of the methods I use to get some hopefully great shot. So guys, I think you can see just behind me there, we've got a lovely, lovely pond. There's marsh marigolds in there, or type of marigold, and there's also a heck of a lot of yellow flag iris. Now these are absolutely stunning, and they're just coming to their peak at the moment. So it'd be lovely to get a bird butterfly on these flag irises. The sun's just over there, so it's casting the light all the way across. It is early in the morning, but it's still quite bright. So what we're going to do is we're going to play around with some settings and see how we get on. So guys, what I've done there is I've just selected a single yellow flag iris and blurred the background out the best I can. So the max wide open aperture of this lens is f4. So I'm shooting at f4 just to blow that background out. It's not totally blown out. I've got a 300 f2.8 which would do a better job of creating that blur at the background, and that's then giving focus and attention to that single flower. In that situation there, as I said, shooting at f4, if I were to then open it up to f8, it would then bring that background more into focus, which then would lose the attention of the single yellow flag that I've actually been focusing on. And you'll see that in the picture. So we shot that one there at f4, and so I've isolated the actual flower, and if I shoot now at f8, you'll see the background starts to creep into focus. Not fully, but it brings it in just a little bit more. So guys, as you saw in the image there, it's not drastically different. To create a nice bokeh and blurred background effect, you really do need separation from your subject and the background. So if you've got stuff very close to your subject, so your subject is there, and you're shooting with clutter very close to the subject, it's going to be in focus. So the further away that clutter is, and you've got depth of space behind to nothing with a very distant, quite neutral or same color tone background, you get a nice blurred effect at the back, and then you've got that focus is on the subject that you want to stand out in your image. I'll put a few examples on the screen, guys, of what I mean by that, and that just gives that, that subject a bit more punch and makes you focus in on that subject and not get distracted by the background. Not a lot of great subjects here. The birds are very thin on the ground, but you kind of get the idea. I will, as I say, talk through and put some examples on the screen for you. But it's quite busy around here. I'm just off one of the main tracks here, so I'm going to head off into the meadow and lose myself a little bit in there, and then we don't get so many people stopping and looking what I'm looking at through a large lens, which is always the case. So we're going to head on into the meadow. So I've just found an obliging song sparrow that's using a nice perch. It's just a little, looks like an old dead branch amongst a load of foliage. There's quite a separation at the back. So we're looking at probably about 15, 20 feet at the back. So if I get a picture of the bird when it comes up and I get a picture of bird on the stick, I'll be shooting at f4 then. I'm going to throw that background right out of focus because there's enough distance behind. f2.8 would be a lot better, but we've got to go with f4 and hopefully we'll be able to get a nice image of the bird. And I'm going to shoot, depends on where the bird's bill is facing or beak is facing. If it's facing to the right hand side, then I'll put the bird out to the left and it's shooting into the frame. And if it's facing the other way, then I'll do the opposite to that. And then you've got that sort of storytelling element there. Yes, it's not, if you look at an image together, when you look at an image with a bird smack bang in the middle on a post, it doesn't really do an awful lot. You just move that around with a rule of thirds, just put that bird out to the left or to the right. It's almost like it's going to fly into the frame and just gives it a little bit more. Right, the bird's just coming up now and I'm hoping it's going to relax. It might be a sparrow, but they're beautiful birds and it's just got to relax and it comes up, does its territorial thing and it's fluttering around at the bottom. So if I go quiet now, stop talking to the camera, hopefully we'll be able to get a half decent shot of this sparrow. I'm putting a little bit exposure compensation on because it's a bit, the light's a bit dicey at the minute. In fact, I see a lot of sparrows in here doing the same thing. So we're going to have a go with this. There's a few goldfinches around as well, which would be nice if we could get those, but we'll focus on this sparrow for the moment. So guys, I'm surrounded by warbling vireos, red-eyed vireos, song sparrows, red-winged blackbirds. There's loads and loads of birds in here. And I just come to a nice little secluded spot because that sun has come out now and it's really, really bright. And that's another thing you've got to be aware of when you're out shooting is obviously that harsh light, which really can ruin the images. Find a shady spot, get low, get away from that atmospheric distortion. But at the moment, just looking what we've gone over so far. So subject separation is a really, really key thing really to enable your images to stand out. Get rid of distracting elements, branches. Don't physically get rid of them, but put yourself in a position where you can shoot a bird on a nice post. Because let's face it, hide-based stuff where you go to baited hides and even some of the non-baited hides, they put up posts and then you've an isolated post, a bird lands on it, you get a lovely picture, nice mossy post, background's thrown out, amazing. You get some amazing shots. At some of the places in the UK, RSPB, Wildlife Trust, National Trust, just a hide, a chanced hide where you see stuff come along and they land. Posts birds use all the time, smaller bird species, birds of prey will frequent the same posts, observation posts to look out for potentially surveying prey, etc., surveying the area. So they're all good. We're not talking about baited hides here for birds of prey. We're talking about hides just for observation. Posts like that, look out for that, and then look at getting rid of the clutter. If you're shooting from a hip and you're shooting, say, behind here now, as an example, you've got a lot of tree cover and you're shooting a bird in there, yes, it's going to be quite cluttered. You're going to get the bird with loads of distracting elements, and because it's the same level as the bird, that depth of field, if it's whether or not if it's wide open or you've stopped it down, then it's still going to have detail of the surrounding area of the subject. So that's going to take away the look of your image. It's going to bring all that detail in of other areas which are distracting elements. So you kind of want subject separation. So if you can get a bird on a post, on a wall, distance from the background is quite important. If it's quite close with clutter behind, you're going to bring that into focus. If it's further away, you create a lovely background bokeh, which is an out of focused area, which is all blurred, the same sort of color tone, fairly neutral, not too bright, and it gives that subject punch. So I think we've covered that one, and we'll show you some examples of that as well. But now we'll probably just move on to a few other techniques you can look at, which will hopefully make those images stand out. So another thing, guys, you can look for as well is gaps through foliage, gaps through hedges. I put an image which is on a barbed wire fence, and I was trying to get away from using a man-made structure, so a wire fence with a man-made post, and I was shooting through some gorse right through, through the gap, got the focus point through the gap and took the image, trying to lose the man-made fence and the man-made post, although the bird was sitting on that, and trying to get the blurred around the edge of the gorse because I'm shooting, the focus point is on the bird, so the foreground is going to be slightly diffused and slightly out of focus, and especially with the background as well. So you see that image, that's what I was trying to create there. So an image of a bird on a man-made post and fence isn't the most attractive. Sometimes needs must just to get the image, but it's nice to create a different story. You'll see that one there. That just gives you a bit of idea about that subject separation again. And also about using features of the landscape. So if you've got a bird in a tree and it's on the end of a branch and there's not a lot behind it and you've got space there, you can then shoot that bird on that branch and you've got a lovely space in the middle with that blurred background again, using natural features, stone walls. Yes, they're man-made, but they're lovely with the lichen and mosses on. You can use that. It's just giving you an idea about using the environment you're in. So a long grass here, a post sticking up out of the grass, you can shoot through the grass. If there's a gap and it's blurred all around and you've got a focus point right through the grass to the bird, you can get a lovely shot then of an in-focus bird with a blurred surrounding. I've got a nice picture as well, guys, of a skylark, which I took in Scotland when I was there with Espen Helland. On the way back, we managed to get some shots, and it was a heat of the day, but it was a shot of a skylark, and it was a beautifully open area, and it was a distant landscape shot. And that's another thing to be thinking about, is it doesn't have to be up close and personal shots. You know, zooming right in at your max focal length, is bring it back a bit, shoot landscape, shoot the environment. So you've got skylark in an environment rather than up close and personal shot of the bird. As much as they're nice and you can get that lovely feather detail and the colours within the bird, it's nice to then give it a bit of an environment it's in. It gives you that space, small bird in a large environment. So just think about it when you do your shots. You can't always manufacture situations, but you can look and watch, and observation is key. If you're here now, there's lots of places that these birds will constantly perch on. They'll go away, they'll hunt, they'll feed, they'll come back, they'll sit on a post, they'll call out, do the territorial thing, keep their areas secure, and then they'll go back to their business again. It's just sit, wait, and use what you've got around you. So natural features are amazing. I'm just looking at the moment, it's alive with birds in here. We've got a least flycatcher. Oh, we've got some goldfinches as well, having a bit of a fight. So there's loads of birds in here. That warbling vireo, calling over there, least flycatcher. It'd be nice to get some of these shots, but they're all at the moment along the edge of the woodland there. So we haven't got that separation from subject. We're just going to get a shot of the bird surrounded by leaf and branch, which is not always the best. So we're going to pick and choose the situation. We're going to pick and choose where we want that story in your mind to develop, of what shot you have in your mind. Now the meadow here is quite extensive. I've put a old branch up against an old metal post out there and I've tied it on, and I've had lots of birds land on that, and it's an old gnarly branch, and it's now surrounded by some of the larval food plant for the monarch butterfly, and that's nicely covered there. So you've almost got the bird then floating on top of the larval food plant, and also along this area here with buttercups and daisies and dandelions. It's absolutely fantastic. Right, so that's another thing, guys, using natural features within the landscape. So guys, we just had the beautiful Baltimore Oriole at the top on the branch there. Managed to get a shot of it. Not the best. but I got a shot of it at a distance. And I'm trying to spend a bit of time in here because we've got a warbling vireo and we've got a least flycatcher here, and I'm hoping, and we've now got a white-breasted nuthatch now just in here. I've got a sparrow over here that's feeding young. I couldn't really avoid getting away with any sort of subject separation in the background. I had to then just go with what I could get, but we've got a lovely little bird in here now. I think this could be it's young, I think. There's a lot going on here. I want to get these flycatchers if I can. Oh, we've got the nuthatch. So guys, another thing you want to be looking at is using your shutter speed and obviously your aperture as well. Now we said before that f4, say f4, f2.8, wide open, so the diaphragm of your lens is wide open, letting the maximum amount of light in. Low light situations kind of need it wide open because your ISOs are going through the roof, so it's a bit of a trade-off. But in good light, you can use that to good effect. So you're shooting at f4 in good light. As I said before, you can isolate your subject, but opening up the background to say f8, f11 will then bring some of that background in. It's quite nice if you're doing like mammals in the landscape, deer on a ridgeline, you've got a little bit of mountains in the background. You want to bring that detail in a bit to give that sort of impact of wilderness. So you kind of a bit of a play around with f4, f5.6, f6.3, 7.1, whatever, f8 and above. So you can use your shutter, use your aperture. Shutter speeds are really good as well, especially if it's kind of in windy weather. Over grass, as I said before, you can create that cotton candy effect, dippers in the water, getting it down really, really low on your shutter speeds, 1/30th of a second, bringing in that sort of cotton candy, swirling grass, meadows, all that color in the wind, swishing around can create a beautiful effect if the bird's fairly static or the animal's quite static in its environments. You're going to get that nice and sharp with kind of like a sea of blur around them. Can really, really be quite nice. And we'll show you some examples as well as we go. So you can use your shutter, use your aperture to good effect. It's all about playing around with your camera, getting to know it. And it's not always easy. Low light situations, early morning, evening, best times for photography. You can't always use f8, f11 because you need it wide open to get the maximum amount of light in. So it is a bit of a trade-off. You've just got to play around with it, know your camera, and then go from there. But that's another one to look at, guys, is using aperture and shutter to create good effects. As I say, water movement is amazing. Landscapers use it a lot for groins on beaches, with the sea movement. The groins are static because they don't go anywhere, and the sea's moving around. You can create some beautiful, beautiful images. Star trails for astro, all sorts of stuff. But as a wildlife photographer, for me, it's quite nice to then sometimes just to go out and try to find something different in an image. Just shooting a bird on a stick doesn't always bring it to life. If you want to get noticed, if you want to do something different, you've got to play around, but you need to hone your skills onto your camera and get to know it really, really well. But hopefully some of these tips, guys, will really do benefit you. It's not an exact science. It's all about playing around and a bit of trial and error too. But we're not going to achieve amazing results here today, but hopefully we'll see some other images that I've done in the past, which will give you an idea about what I'm talking about. Well, I'm hoping we get a few more obliging subjects. The trouble is here, as we've got, is there's a lot of birds in there on the edge. But as I said before, you're bringing all the detail in of what they're around. You're not getting that separation from the background. But still, you can see the differences in an image where you see a bird on its own and then a bird with clutter behind. These birds are quite skulky. There's warbling vireos in there. There's American redstart. There's red-eyed vireos. There's yellow warblers in there. Least flycatchers, song sparrows, they're all in here at the moment, and that oriole came over as well. And I've just seen the kestrel come through. It's not perched, it flew over the top, right over the back, and I'm hoping maybe it comes back round. But yeah, right back to it, guys. So guys, another way you can make your images stand out with a little bit more impact is going for high key shots where you're retaining sort of dark and light areas, strong contrast, and allowing that image to look very overexposed, but still retaining detail in the subject without losing any sort of image degradation there. Really, really highly effective for things like Arctic fox, for gannets, mountain hares, all that sort of stuff. Can really blend the subject into the background of the same sort of coloration there. So very much so, and you can do the opposite there as well with low key shots as well, which is the underexposure side of things, which really does bring things out as well. And it gives those images a little bit more punch when light's particularly harsh, or when the image is looking a bit flat. You can really be quite creative with low and high key. Google it, have a look into it. There's loads of stuff online as well of people showing you how to best use those techniques. But further to that though, guys, in nature and wildlife photography, you're best off using natural light sources when doing that, rather than the artificial light source, which is always something I like to steer away from. Use what natural light you have available. So guys, we've got some big ass vultures courting over this meadow here. As you can see there, it's quite an expanse, and they're just 12 o'clock to the camera. I'm hoping we might get to come in. They were quite low a moment ago. Massive wingspan on those. I got really excited for a moment. I thought it was an eagle of types, a Goldie or a Bold, but no, as it looks very round on the wings, because vultures have kind of pointy. But as it turned, I saw the white and the black contrast underneath. But still, it's a subject to photograph. And with, you know, making your images quite impactful, with birds in the sky, quite difficult. You know, you've got just a big ass sky and the birds, so you know it's quite difficult there. You got to go with what you got. You can change things. You can get certain lighting conditions, sunset, sunrise. You get a lovely pink sky sometimes. You know, you can really use that to good effect, playing around with your aperture and your shutter, and underexposure as well, creating silhouettes. It's another really, really good way of bringing image to life. You've got backlit subjects radiating through the mammal or bird with a golden glow. You're behind. Sometimes you get feather detail with like a halo around. I'll show you a picture of a roe deer I took with the sunlight of the sunset coming through on the antlers, on the body. Really quite nice, underexposing that image massively, losing the detail in the subject, but creating a little bit of a different image. You can underexpose that by as many stops as you want. Just keep trying, underexpose it, getting that nice red light behind, orange glow. Beautiful way to do things. Silhouettes, another great way to showcase some of your images. It's endless, guys. It's just trying to give you some few ideas to try at home. Get out in the field, shoot. Doesn't have to be on a prime lens mounted on a tripod. It's good to shoot from the hip as well, going along, just see what you can get. I'm doing this today because it's easier to demonstrate to you with the camera, with vlogging, how I would go about doing it. That vulture's coming back my way, but the light is real harsh. I'll probably end up getting a black blob. I'm already overexposing about 2 stops. So yeah, not the best. I don't think we're going to be showing any of those today. Another one as well to use is some of the environmental conditions. We've talked about slow shutter speeds in water, over the meadow, movement in grasses, etc., cornfields, meadows, all that sort of stuff. But also things like water droplets, fog, mist. They all add a great dynamic to an image. You can use those to good effect. These red-winged blackbirds are can be quite aggressive when you're near the nest. I don't know if there's any nests here, but you can hear those. He's right there, and they can come down and have a go at you. So it's got to be wary of that bad boy there. All right, fella, it's okay. No threat here. Yeah, but you can use that. As I said, water droplets are amazing. Dew. You've got cobwebs with dew in there and water droplets. Absolutely fantastic to create a good image. So lots and lots of things to think about. Probably too much, but just get out there, have a go, play around with your settings, your depth of field, your shutter, your aperture, your panning shots. You can move birds in flight, panning, give it a bit of motion blur. Don't go too much of a fast shutter speed, get wingtip movement. All these sorts of things take practice and time, but if you want to get out there and just trial and error it, go for it. You know, it's just, there's loads and loads of stuff online, guys, with panning, birds in flight techniques, etc. It's endless, and that's the fun of wildlife photography, really, or any genre of photography, is every day is a school day and you're always learning. I sometimes really wish I had more time to experiment, and which I will do, but at the moment it's just nice to relay some of the tips from me to you. It's getting to that point of quite harsh light of the day now. We're coming on to sort of mid-morning, sort of 10:30, 11. So probably going to make a move in a moment. We've got loads of dragonflies moving across here, and I was hoping we might get some birds on the grasses here with the movement, but sadly it's a bit quiet. We're going to do another stretch around the meadow and see if we can pick up that kestrel. So guys, I think I'm going to call it a day there now. It's been a really, really fun morning, getting out, just seeing what's going on in my local meadow and relaying a few tips for you, hoping that you may get some improvements on some of your images, just looking at things like subject background separation, looking at your foreground, your background, reduce clutter, using your aperture, your shutter to good effect, your depth of field, wide open, blurring background out, creating that bokeh effect, maybe using a slightly stop down, and when you want to bring in the background for a landscape image with a bird or a mammal in its environment, using natural perches, using the environment is key. Also the weather is a big indicator there, with rain with good effect, water droplets, sunrise, sunset, mist, fog, all that sort of stuff to make those images impact, okay? To make those images really punch and really give them a little bit added push, rather than that single bird on a branch with a cluttered background. Use your focus points, use the rule of thirds, offset the bird or the subject, the mammal, to the left, to the right, all that sort of stuff, just to give it space to move. Endless amounts of things you can do there, guys, and I'm really, really hoping you've picked up some tips there. As I said, get to know your camera is key. Using the varying zoom range on your camera, from 200 to 560, which is great. So you've got that environment side and you've got that up close and personal shots, okay? I hope you really did find that useful. If you've got anything for me, please leave it in the vlog description below. I'm gonna head in now because we've got a bit of rain inbound, and I haven't got my waterproof cover and I don't wanna get caught out. But yeah, thanks very much, guys, for watching today. I hope you found it useful. And as I said, there's endless amounts of stuff that you can do, but there's some that you could look at. Okay, but from me, guys, thanks very much indeed for watching, and I'll see you all next time.